So welcome back guys, this is the DAX PowerPivot and Data Analysis course. You know that by now, and we're on group work 4. Before we crack on, we're going to have a look at our objectives. So in this exercise, we're going to have a look at hierarchies. They're a fantastic little tool that you can add to your PowerPivot tool belt. They really come into their own when you're reporting on fields that have lots of categories and subcategories. And for those of you who are already using grouping when you're pivoting, then you're about to realise that all your birthdays have come at once. So we'll have a look at how PowerPivot, when we're pivoting, how it handles a date field. There's some grouping that's going on there and you'll maybe find that helpful or not. We can turn it on or turn it off, so I'll take you through all of that. And we'll also have a look at how we can add a pivot table from the Excel window, but ensure that we have access to the data model. Up until this point, we've been inserting pivot tables directly from the PowerPivot data model window, but I'm going to show you how we can achieve that, but still take advantage of the data model and all of the tables within. So lots coming up guys, lots to get our teeth into. I'm really excited about this. And I'll see you for exercise 1. Okay everyone, let's just get started on group work 4. I'm currently on page 27 of the user guide and we're going to have a look at creating a hierarchy. So what is a hierarchy? Well, it's a list of fields that are considered a single item when they're used in a pivot table. They appear as a single object in the pivot table field list. And their job really is to make it easy for users to select and navigate data when they're creating reports in pivot tables. So let's suppose that we've got a number of fields. We can create a hierarchy that includes perhaps the category, the subcategory and the product name. And we can list all of those fields together, group them together under the top level field, which would be, let's say, the products field. So we group them all together, we give it a name, and then we can place that as a single entity in one of the drop zones. So let's put that into reality. Let's create one now and see just how useful hierarchies can be. So as I say, page 27 of the user guide, and question number 1 says select a new worksheet in the workbook. So let's do that. Next job is to rename the new sheet to group work 4, GW4, and hit enter. Let's select cell A1. That's where we're going to put our destination pivot table. Now this is a new approach as well. Up until this point we've been inserting our pivot tables directly from the pivot table data model window, but I want to show you how we can do it now in Excel 2016. So I'm going to select the Insert tab and select Pivot Table. Now the options that we have include use this workbook's data model. Fantastic. So Excel 2016 recognises that there's a data model in play in this workbook, and it is actually the default setting. Now we don't want it in a new worksheet because we've selected a cell in the background. It's picked that up as the location and we're going to click on OK, and voila, look guys, all of our tables in the data model are there for us in the pivot table field list. Now for Excel 2010 and 2013 users, you're going to have to insert the pivot table directly from the data model window and then just pick up from this point. Now traditionally, if we wanted multiple fields in the rows drop zone, we would have to select each of the fields that we wanted to appear. So let's go to the product table and let's select category and drag down to the rows drop zone. We also want subcategory. We'll drop that underneath the product name, and then from the sales table we'll select the sales amount into the values area, and there is our report. And as we have seen on the top level, we can right click and we can choose to collapse the entire field, right click, or expand the entire field. It's up to us. But let's make that easier, guys, for ourselves. Let's go to the data model window. We're going to stay on diagram view, and I'm just going to resize the products table. Just dragged it over the top of the sales table for the time being. If I hover over the product table name, I can see a couple of icons, and if I hover over the first one, it says create hierarchy. So I'm going to click on that, and just at the bottom of the table we've got the default hierarchy 1. I'm just going to rename that all products. Hierarchies can contain spaces, and hit enter. The fields I wish to add to the hierarchy are the category field. I'm just going to click on category and drag it just on top of the hierarchy name, the all products name. The next one I want is the subcategory, so I just click and drag that and release. And then lastly we want the product name. And that one's at the top, just out of view slightly, and I click and I drag and I release. So let's just resize our product table, and there is our hierarchy at the bottom. Now if we'd made a spelling mistake or anything like that, we can just simply double click on it and amend. So let's go back to our pivot table. I'm going to select cell E1, and I'm going to insert a new pivot table from our insert tab. The default again is to use the workbook's data model. It's picked up the cell, and I'm going to click on OK. Now from the products table in the pivot table field list, things look slightly different. I'll just resize this so that you can see a little bit better. All products at the very top is our hierarchy field. If I click on the expand arrow, all of our other fields are all still there individually as well. They haven't removed themselves from the list. They're there as separate entities still, but grouped together under this hierarchy, all products, I just click and I drag into rows. Let's just put sales amount from sales as well, so we can get some context into the values area. And now if I click to expand, our category, subcategory and product name are grouped together in a hierarchy. Just such a fabulous little tool. It's a really handy little feature for ourselves, for when we're reporting, but also for the end user. I just want to show you a feature that's new to Excel 2016. If I select cell H1, I'm going to insert a new pivot table. I'll leave all the defaults, click on OK, and then from the sales table I'm just going to select order date and drop into the rows drop zone. Can you see what's happened there? It's automatically grouped all of those dates. Let me see if I can just drag that so you can see it a bit clearer. So from that one field, which was just order date, it's grouped it automatically into year, quarter, month and just the regular date. Now for some that might be heaven sent, and let's face it, it's a really handy, really quick, easy tool. However, in some situations that might not be what you want. You can drag these out if you don't need them. Let's resize that. If we take it out altogether and put it back in again, it just regroups. As I say, I've nothing against this. In certain circumstances, I think it's absolutely brilliant. If it's grouping when you don't want it to group, then you can turn it off. Go up to the File tab, come down to Options, and in Advanced, we just scroll all the way down to the bottom. It's just under the Data section, where here it says Disable Automatic Grouping of Date Time columns in pivot tables. So I am going to turn that on, because in later exercises leaving it in play is going to cause us some headaches, and I'll just click on OK. I'll just take you over to the PowerPivot data model window, and you can see what effect that also has on our sales table. If we scroll all the way over, the new black columns have been added automatically. We've got the year, we've got the quarter, we've got a month index, which is the month number obviously, and the month name. Again, I'm not knocking it, this is absolutely brilliant in certain circumstances, but for our purposes I'm going to Just highlight those and just get rid of them, just delete those columns. So let's go back to Excel. I'm going to get rid of this and let's just focus on the star of the show, which is the hierarchy. So the first thing we did there was we just inserted a pivot table and added those fields manually, but then we went over to the data model window and we created the hierarchy. And if we just deselect that and just click on it again, it comes in automatically for us. Absolutely fantastic little tool. We've only used a few fields for that particular hierarchy, but you could have a dozen or so. So it's going to make reporting really, really easy. So it's over to you now, guys. You're going to have a go and create a new hierarchy in practice exercise number 4 on page 30. And then I'll see you in the solutions exercise. Good luck, and I'll see you then.